All right, let's go ahead and get started. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Do this real quick. All right. All right, so we have this lesson. We're going to have one more lesson after this. This is lesson number 15. Let me see if I got my writing material. Here we go. All right, so we're coming to close to an end. Pretty much we've covered so much information. It's remarkable. And it's just going to continue to add and add and add. And like I told you, we will be moving on from this book, and we'll be looking at the verb book. We're going to be looking at how verbs are working more actively. Here they gave us a little bit about how they work, and they've given us a lot of the vocabulary, and that's what you'll see here. So anything like, he did this or he did that, he feared, he slept, he shepherded, he hit, he covered, he passed, he traded, all those things are the verbs, and then also too on the other end, you might hear some, the dream, the kolam, that is a noun, right? And then bor, which is a pit, but also to understand in the Hebrew language, verbs can actually turn into nouns. The same word that could be used for a verb can be used for a noun, right? So that's the dynamic of the language, is that some of the words that are nouns, they can be used as verbs, and some of the verbs, they turn into nouns. Okay. So, you get double action going on. So once you learn one in particular vocabulary word, it could function both as a verb or a noun. So as you notice at the end of these lessons here, when we're coming to the end, it's just going over some of the other rules that they didn't discuss, or other aspects of those rules. So rule number 14 is continued, which you would find on page number 55 in your handouts that you received before. And what it's saying here is that they're just trying to tell us how you're going to add, the noun preposition into endings. So you can add a preposition to an ending, or you can add a pronoun to the end of it. So for example, we saw on page number 55 that for one to say him or it, it's used as who. But also too, we know that, let me see here, that the end of him also can be a yod, like oh. So you have two different ways of saying him on the end, okay? It could be shemo or it could be who, right? Depending on how it's being used. So don't let it confuse you. You're going to see sometimes that they'll use different endings to represent, different numbers of persons, or, whether it's third person, second person, or first person, okay? So when we look at this word here, I guarded, okay, what I want you to tell me right quick, when just looking at this, you have to break it down, okay? I ain't worried about pronunciation. I just want to break it down. So the first thing you're going to look for is what?
The root.
Yes, absolutely. Excellent. That's the first thing you're going to look for. Once you find the root of the word, right? Once you find that, then you pretty much at that point can start chopping down what are the other elements that are connected to that word. So just off the top, we see shamar, and that's the root. Then you got these T right here. So if you know the ending, what does that mean?
He is.
Yeah. What is T? What is T?
You.
T is I. Remember, it's on the end of the root. Let me see here. We discuss in a lot of our lessons, and don't feel bad if you forget it. It's okay. Okay. Don't worry about it. You're going to get it, because you got to stay with it. And that's what you guys have been doing. So you're going to get it. So again, there's the root, right? That's going to be in the blue box. Just say this is the blue box. I'm using my finger because my pen don't want to work. And then here's another box. It's right here on the end. And then here is another box right here on the front. And it's possible that there could be another box right here in the middle. okay, of the root, right? So if anything is put in this first box, box number one, okay, it could have any letter in there. It could be an aleph, it could be a tav, it could be a noon, right? Or it could be a yod. It could be any of that. It could be a yod, it could be an aleph. It could be, and I'm just attaching, a tav onto the front, right? It could be either of those. If it's in the front, you're talking about the future. If it's in the back, you're talking about the past. If it's in the middle, it's in the middle of something that it is in the present. You're right. And you can think of this past, present, and future, or the front, the middle, and the back. Okay. So the past is the back of things. It's at the end of it. It's the end of something. Okay. So if it's at the end of the root, it's at the end. That something's happened at the end. If it's on the front of it, it means it's just the front of it, meaning it's something that's in front. It's in the future. Okay. If it's in the middle of, you can think of it as if it's in the middle, I'm in the middle of something, which if I'm in the middle of something, I'm presently doing something. Okay. If you could remember this, then you will be fine. Okay. Because what you're going to do is, in our example right here, in our first word, I guarded him, you would see, let's get rid of the who right here, and it's shamarti. Okay. So these T right here means I, and that's in the past. And then here's shamar, guarded. Okay. So at the end of something, I guarded. That's what it means. So I guarded what? I guarded him. That's the him. That's the I. And then, of course, the guarded is the shamar. Okay. So you got to be able to see that. Okay. The next one right here. What is the 3-letter root?
Is it shalak?
Yes. Excellent. Shalak means to send, right? So it's saying, I sent him. Okay. In that word, what's the I? What 2 letters are the I?
The top and the yod.
Yes. Okay. So as you notice, when you're going to translate, not transliterate, translate, you got to look for things. So your eye got to catch the root. Then you find out, okay, where's the person? Is this first person, second person, third person? Where is it at? Okay. And so we know that the tav and the yod tells us that it's the what? It's the first person. It's at the end. So I know it's in the past because it's on the end of that root. So it's at the end of something happening. Okay. And I know that this word from my vocabulary, I know that it's a verb, to send. So I sent. Okay. I sent. And then who did I send? I sent him or it. The him and it could be a horse. And if it is a horse, it has to be a male horse. Okay. Because that's what it is, him or it. And you can also have a her in it. Either her, third person, or it, third person, feminine, singular. Okay. So that's basically what we're talking about. Is just, again, the idea of Hebrew, and especially in the language, is putting pieces of a puzzle together. So when we look at this, we get intimidated. We're like, man, that's a lot of letters. How am I going to remember how to say that? But if you see these elements of it and you know where they're supposed to be, you can know, okay, I know what that is. Oh, that's shamarti, shamartehu. Shamartehu. Okay. Shalaktihu. Shamartihu, shalaktitu. Shalaktihu. So shamar, I know off the top is guarding. Shalak, I know that means to send because I know my vocabulary. And then you just put the ends on it. Okay, so now they're going to ask a question about how should we say that she ate it or him, right? And it says you would put these pieces together. You would put this piece to a kala, and then you would get a lachahu, okay? But that's not correct because according to the rules, you can't have 2 hays next to each other. So they're going to do something. And more than likely, what they're going to do is they're going to change it from a hey to a tav, which you'll find on page number 91. Okay. On page number 91. It'll tell you why they're changing this. Okay. Because that's a rule. Because you cannot have two hays in a row. So that's basically what they're telling us. And so it won't be this right here. A kalehu. It won't be a kalehu. It'll be down here. A kalithahu. A kalathahu. Okay. That's what it would be. Okay. Using this instead of this hey right here. You're going to change it. So the hey changes over to a tav. So those are the little things that you'll be looking for. But tell me, what is the root?
Say a call.
A call. That a call by itself is masculine. And if I make it into feminine, it'll be a kala. Or excuse me, akala. It'll be akala. But if it's just by itself, a call is the root, you're correct. But since it's feminine and it has something to do with a female, they put that a on there. Okay. Going back to rule number 2. Anytime you want to feminize it, you just add this. That is the piece that you would add to that in particular root. So as you notice, all you're doing is just adding pieces. That's just a piece that they added. So when you see it, you'd be like, okay, I know what the root is. The root is a call right here. That's the root. But since they got the hey on it with the ah, oh, they're making it feminine. Okay. And then she is doing this action, right? She ate it, not him, right? Unless we're in our Torah portion, it talks about how the women were eating their children. Okay. So that's just something that they're going over in this rule. It's a continuation of it. And so then they tell you, hey, please note that, the akalathahu could also have, come from combining the who, the it with akalath, and then they go over those things for us as well. But what I want you to understand is how to do a diagnostic on a word. And that's what we're going to cover. Okay. So you can get the idea behind translating and knowing what it is that's inside the word. So they're going to ask us a question here about how do you say we will sell him. So the root is makar, meaning he sold, in its perfect tense. Why is it perfect? Why is makar perfect?
3 letters.
It's 3 letters and there's nothing added to it. If I added an ah on the end of it to make it feminine, is it still perfect?
Yes.
Trick question. Yes, it is. All I did was feminize it. That's all. Okay. All right. But also too, if I added T on the end of it, is it still perfect? Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yes, because something's on the end. If I put something on the front of it right here, would it be perfect? No. Why? Because if I put a letter onto the front, that means it's a future. It means will. Okay. So the aleph is what? I will. The tav is what?
Mhm.
You will. The noon is
We.
we will. The yod is he will. You see? So those are the only letters that you ever have to worry about. All right. So let's keep it simple. So the aleph is the front. The tav is on the front. The noon is on the front. And the yod is on the front. Okay. Is the aleph first person, second person, third person?
First.
First. Tav, first person, second person, third person.
Second.
Thank you. Second. Yo, first person, second person, third person. You already got first and second, and there's only another one, which is a third. So see how easy that is? So your aleph, your tav, and your yod tells you first, second, and third. You're not going to have a fourth. Okay. The noon is a first person common plural because it's talking about a group of individuals. We. Okay. And that we can be male and female together. It could be one male and all females. Okay. So it doesn't tell you what the gender is. Okay. Because it's what? It's a first person common singular. Okay. Aleph is a first person, right? First person common. Okay. It's first person common. Because that I could be anybody. It could be because you're speaking for yourself, first person. It could be a male or a female. You see? However, if it's a yod, it could be third person, masculine, singular. But if it's a yod on the front and it has I don't want to be mistaken. Yod. I think it's a tav on the front and a yod on the end. There's different pieces like that, which is female, right? Feminine, singular. So you just got to know what's first person, second person, third person. First, second, third. Those are your categories. Your other category is what? Past, present, and future. Okay. You know those things, you're good. Then you're going to have a male, and you're going to have a female, and you're going to have common. Those are those things. That's the things that you're looking for. So these letters represent these things. Your letters will tell you if it's first person, second person, third person. And then, of course, don't let me forget singular or plural. Okay. So often we find out a majority of the things that we learn are called P, G, N. You can have this one. The P represents what? Person. The G represents what?
Gender.
Gender. The N represents what? Number. So put it in your mind, PGN, like a movie. Okay, PGN. The movie's PG. I'm going to put an N on it, PGN. So you're always going to be looking for the person, the gender, and the number. Okay, the person's going to tell you, is it first person, second person, or third person? Okay, the gender is going to tell you if it's male or female. Okay, or if it's common. The third for the number is going to tell you if it's singular or plural. It's either one of those two. Either it's one individual, it's a group. That's all it is. Okay. That's why they're using these letters to tell you which one is what it is. So when I look at this and I break down this word nimkoro, I know that this letter right here means this, we, and it's added to the front. So I know it means will because it's added to the front. We will. Okay. And then I know what my root is right here is makar right here. That's my root. And then they have the O on the end. Like I told you, they could be who or O. This was work. I don't know why the screen is freezing up. This right here represents him. Okay. So Nimkoro is the same as Nimkorehu because the who on the end here represents him as well. Okay. So you can say it this way, or you can say it this way. It means exactly the same thing. Okay. There's another little thing that they're going to introduce you to, which is their third option called new. okay, or anu. The anu is represented by these three dots and then nu. So it's a different, this is a actual piece to a puzzle. It's just not the new. It's just not new like this. It's actually these three dots that are going to be underneath the letter and then new, anu. Okay. And what that's going to let you know is dealing with an individual. This is a little tricky. Okay. Because you know, at the end of a word like new, let me take that dot out of there. If I just had new like this, you would think that that new is this new right here. And it's not. Okay. If I say, so lamed, and then I put the new right here. La nu. Okay. This means two or four. That's from the lamed. And then this right here is us. Okay. So when you read the language, you'd be like, well, that's saying it says new right here. But no. This new here is called anu, and anu means him. Okay. So you would see this right here in this word. So what they did is they added, right, that little piece, the anu, to makar. Okay. And that's how you get, we will sell him, nim karenu. So which part of the words is we? Which letter over here is we out of this word here? Or we will? Which letter?
Then
Yes, it's the noon, we will. It's will because it's in the future. With anything in the future, it means we will do it. It's something that's going to happen in the future. The sell part is the makar right here. That's the sell part right here, makar. Okay, right there. And the him individual, okay, singular, third person, is this three dots, the noon with the dot in it and with the u on the end. This is the piece that's added to give us him. That shall let you know when you see that. So it takes practice. So often when I get in a lot of challenges with people and they say, well, you know, it's talking about a group of people, you know, it says new on the end, new, because new means plurality. And I say, yes, new does mean plurality, but this noon has a dot in it. And it has the anu, it has these three dots, and it has a dot inside the noon, and you know, still has that on the end, but that's an individual, that's the third person. So they do sound alike. Okay. So la nu and you know, nim karenu, the nu on the end, you'd be like, okay, sounds like a group, but it's not, it's an individual. And so you can see that right there. Okay. What part of this here is you? What letter?
the what?
It's the
No,
top.
I'm sorry. The U would be toss.
That's the top. Okay. What's the root?
Shalak.
Thank you. And the anu is him. See? So that's all it is putting the pieces together. Okay. So then they go in and tell us that, hey, when you put the ending of anu on him, it means him is only used when the verb is in the future tense. So that's another little rule that you have to remember. Okay. But he says, but this now will cause a problem because the word we will sell him, the nim karenu, is the same as the word for we will sell us. Here's the example. You see? So one has anu and the other one is enu and the other one is anu. Okay. Everything is spelled exactly alike without any of these vowel points. See? And I'm going to show you right here. It's spelled exactly alike, except for two things. Okay. Everything starts off perfectly until you get to the resh. When you get to the resh, you're going to see that the resh on the one on the top for him has the and the resh on the bottom here has the two dots, a sound, and one is eh, And the other one on the bottom is a sound, like a EY or AY, okay? Like in gray, or as in de, okay? And then the new on the end, one has a dot in it and the other one doesn't. They look alike, but one has a dot and the other one doesn't. So the one with the dot is the one for him. It's a singular. The one without the dot is a plurality. Okay. So that's what's tricky about it. So if you don't know that rule or you don't understand that, you'd be like, okay, you might think you're talking about a group, but also too, the text will tell you. It'll let you know, if you're talking about us, the stuff that you're talking about will have, plurality on it. Okay. It says it's easy because the ending for him is enu. It has the 3 dots, and the one for us has 2 dots. That's how you can remember it as well. Okay. And so when you go over this, you look at this, just remember that that's just something that it is. And of course, the more you read, the more you'll be able to see that. Okay. So when you get it, don't spend too much time with it, because you're going to see it and you'll be like, okay, I know what that dot is. The dot is different. So now let's look at this one. Okay. So it says this is a new little piece that's added, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about adding endings on to the end of a verb. Okay. And so this new one here is the 3 dots and a na. It's added. So you're learning what this is. Okay. So it means her or it. That's what it means. Her or it, just the same as a new means him. So na means her. So what I did is I'll practice saying nu, and I'll close my eyes and I'm like, that's him. And I'll say, that's what it means, him. Nu, nu, nu. And then when I want to remember about a female, I go na, na. So if you got to hear it. Remember, we talked about how you hear sounds. So one is a little harder and one is a more gentler. Like na is different than enu. Enu is a little bit firmer. That's why it's masculine. Okay. So enna is, you can hear it. Enna, feminine, you can hear it all day long. So the nim karenu, or the nim karena, is we will sell her or it. The it can be feminine, like a horse. Okay. Or something feminine, that's a noun that's feminine, but it's not a person. It could be a thing or it could be an animal. Okay. Because the nouns are actually masculine or they can be feminine. Okay. Tishlakenu, or tishlakena, excuse me. Tishlakena is the same thing. They're just putting that ena on it. And that's basically what it is. So they're introducing us to ena and enu and adding on the ends. Number 4, you see that the wa, becoming at the end of verbs, usually it means they, right? So, how would you say they took? Well, you would look at the root. What's the root on that one, on how they took? What's the root? In here. What's the root?
Mhm.
The constitute, the top, and the coffee. And
Yeah. So what gets confusing is like, okay, well, they got 4 letters here. Which 3 are the root? And so you would think, well, that lamed could be 2 or 4. But there's words that have a lamed in it, like lakak. And that's the root. The root is lakak. Okay. And lakak means to take. And then the u on the end is a piece that they added. Okay. They added that to the end of the verb. And that u right there means they, 3rd person plural. They took. Right. So lakaku. Okay. Lakaku. Lakaku means they took. Okay. But you would ask the question, they would say, well, how would you say they took him? And then you get into the root. And then the u is they. And then this right here is the what? What's the who?
Who is he?
The who right here is him. Yes. So who is him? The root is lakach right here, 3 letters. The u, I'm gonna put a different color. I'm gonna put it in green. The u right here is they, and that's right here. You see? So what it is basically a puzzle that you're putting together. And if you know your pieces, you'll be able to translate what they're saying. Without even the vowel points. You don't really need vowel points. You only need vowel points to pronunciate the word because you and I don't know what it is. But once you learn what it is, you don't need the vowel points anymore. You would automatically be able to tell what it is because you would know the vocabulary is lakak. So I know that means to take. The u means they, so they took. And then the last part is who, which is him. They took him. Okay. So they say now we're going to learn that sometimes at the end of the verb, we will have the u ending, right? The wa with the u on it. And we would add one of the noun endings like who. That's a noun ending. Him, it, okay, who. And so then the u, which is the wa, ending on the verb sometimes changes. So it changes to what? It might change. It's talking about changing to this in particular vowel point. So you can see there's a whole bunch of different rules about what it may change to. And if this is here, then this happens and all that sort of thing. But don't let that discourage you. Don't let that discourage you because all you need to understand is the translation. Okay. When you say it, you know, the la quoi, the kohu, when you say that, you already know when you get into our verb book that sound or that u sound tells you something about how that verb is being done. That's a whole nother topic. We won't get into it. All I want you to focus on is learning how to break the word down. So they right here is what over in this particular word? What is they? What letter is they?
The U, the wa.
Thank you, right here. Okay. What's the root?
The man calls them a cop.
Lakak. That's right here, took. And the end is what?
Him.
Which is who? See? Sit. Laka kuhu. See? Laka kuhu. Okay. And so all they're telling you right here is that it's still laka kuhu is still the same sound, but they just got a different vowel point. That's all. And instead of it having, they're saying that instead of you having this wa right here, we're going to switch it out with just this vowel point right here. We're going to switch that out. That's all. You see? But it still means the same thing. Anytime. So what are they really telling us? They're telling us it's not really about the letters, you guys. It's about the sound. That's what it's about. It's about sound. So the laka kahu is the same as lakwa kuhu. The same thing. It means the same identical thing. Even though you don't have the wa in there with the u sound, it's still the same thing because it's a sound. So what we learn is that sounds tell you what something is. Okay. So if I say, okay, listen, I'm going to say it, new. Well, that sounds like a noon and a u on the end. So that's new. So what did I just say? I'll put it on a noun. Elohenu.
Our.
Yes. So when I say Elohenu, you're not looking, your brain can't look for the letters. You don't even know what all the letters are. All you're listening for is the sound, to hear the voice of that pronunciation of that in particular sound. So Elohenu. So from now on, when you hear nu, you should know, oh, Elohe nu, okay? Hey nu, not he nu, hey nu, okay? If I say Elohenu. Henu versus Henu. What did I just say? One's and the other one's a. If it's the EH sound, then I know you're talking about an individual. But if I visually saw it, it would be a noon with those, it'll be 3 dots with that noon with a dot in it. Then I can verify, oh, that's, for one individual third person, you see? So literally the letters are only written for you to make sounds, right? And then once you understand the sound, you'll be okay. But also too, the letters are there in order for you to look at it with your eyes, and then you can translate that way too. See, the gift is to be able to hear it and be able to recognize it, okay? So when I say Shamar Nu, what did I say? Or better yet, I'll pronounce it Shamarenu. Okay, that means that we guarded. Okay, we guarded. Okay, I say Shamaru. Ooh, what did I just say?
They guarded.
They guarded. See, so it's not basically what you're seeing. I'm just saying something. And because you know what the root is, and I know Shamar is, and you know what guard is, you already know what it is. Then I just put my clip on it, and you would know what it is. Okay. I say Shamar T. What did I just say?
You guarded.
I guarded. Or excuse me,
I
you're correct. I stand corrected. You're right. You. So you start thinking about I'm the one talking. You. No, I guarded. It's I guarded. Because T on the end of a word is I. Remember? See, what it was is you got confused. You were thinking, well, the T on the front or the top on the front is you, which is true. But on the end of the word, the T is a first person. If I was Ta on the, if I say Shamar Ta, then that is you. I say Shamar T, that's first person. This is second person. And if I say, and that's male. If I say Shamar T, these 2 dots underneath there, that's still second person and it's feminine. This one up here is masculine. And both of these are singular. And this is first person common, singular. So a Shamar T can be a man saying it, or it could be a female saying it. You see? Because I'm the first person is saying it. Okay, I'm the one who just did it, okay, or guarded. I'm the one guarding. So if you know your endings, you would know what it is, right? I say Eloheka. Elo, hey, and then ka. What did I just say? I know what ka is. That's a final cough. A little longer. And I got here right here. See, I'm only using this to show you what it is. I'm saying that's ka right there. So that's on the end. Elohe ka, it's on the end. But Elohe is not a verb. Elohe is a noun. So that's the reason why it's not a tav, because if it was a verb, it would be a tav that I just said on the end. But since it's a noun and it's talking about a person, place, or thing, I'm bringing ownership to it by saying ka. I wouldn't say Elohe ti or Elohe ta, okay, or Elohe t. I wouldn't say that. I got to switch the letters up. So verbs get the tav and the nouns get the ka, okay? Which we discussed before, but it's just based on memory. So that's what you're gonna be working when you're working with nouns and you're working with verbs. And each of those have different endings that you got to put on the end of it, okay? So just break it down. So they give you another example here. Let's do number 5. Here's another interesting thing, another way of saying them. Okay. Third person is Mo. You see, so we see the O on it, and we're like, oh, wait a minute. That has to be from our teaching and our understanding. We were like, that's a Wa with a dot on it. So that's him. That's an O on the end. But if you don't know your vocabulary words, you can easily put something on to the end. Okay. So we learned on page number 17 that the Hebrew letter mem is equivalent for the word them. Okay. So he guarded them. And then based on that, which part of this word right here is them? Tell me the piece of the puzzle that's them. The whole piece, not just one piece of it. So how do you do that? How would I know what the piece is? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to look at the root. So what's the root?
Shamar.
Shamar. Now, if I was to take the root shamar, right? Check this out. I take shamar, just how I wrote it out. I got the shin, and then I got the mem, and then I got the resh. Forgive my writing. My pen's not working. I got shamar. I know this is what it is. Shamar. I know that's how it's written. Right? There is nothing right here. There's nothing underneath that resh at the end of that word shamar. There's nothing, because if it was something underneath it, I would have to make a sound. I'd have to sound that out, but there's nothing there. And because there's nothing there, I automatically know that the piece to this puzzle must be this in particular vowel point and this final mem. That's the piece. This is the piece. The whole piece is this, not just the mem. The whole piece is Okay. So now when we look at this, we'd understand, according to page number 17, which they didn't do us any justice just by saying the mem is the equivalent of them. That's not only as true, but it's partly true. The full part of that is this in particular vowel point with the final mem. You understand? That's the piece. This is the piece that makes it them. Okay? Because normally that won't be underneath that resh, and this wouldn't be here. Okay? It'd just be shamar. But I go shamaram. That right there is them. Okay? So if shamar is there, then how would we say? So when I say right, just all I want you to remember, I'm talking about them, but they're going to tell us about another way as well. So let me know, because they're telling us about Mo. Okay. We'll deal with this in a second. Now we're going to learn another way to say them, because then there's two ways. The first way is this one. That piece, that's one way, and here's the second way. Just like they told us, and we've been learning that the hey and the wa is him. Just like we learned just a few moments ago that there's another one for new, that's him, with the dot right here and this on the end. That's not even looking like a wa. And it's missing something, which is the what? The three dots. We also know that this is him. You see? So there's a variety of different ways to say that. You understand? Just like they're telling us there's a variety of different ways to say them, third person plural. Okay. So now they're saying that you have this one here, Mo would give us them. Okay. So it says this form is not found very often in the Torah, which I was about to say, because I haven't seen many of it. Okay. So, but let's break it down. Since they told us the secret ingredient, let's find out, according in this word right here, we're going to break it down. What part of this word is she will?
Is it T?
Yes, it is. It's the top. She will. So if our vocabulary word is bala, right? So bala would be the root. So the root is swallow right here. 3 letters. You notice it's always 3 letters. And then the final one that they just told us about is the what? The mo. That is them. So we don't fight it. We just go along with it. We say, okay, well, there's multiple ways of saying them. But in the Torah, it's not often found. Okay. Which part of this word down here is he? Will. Who's he will? What letter?
Yod.
Yes. That yod is he will. It's not just he, it's he will. Okay, because why is it will?
Future.
Yes, it's in the future and it's in the front of a 3-letter root. What is the 3-letter root from what you can see? A cause. That means to hold. Okay. And then what? Mo. And what's Mo? Mo is them. So in order to say he will hold on to them, they inserted this, by the way, onto, they put that in there so it can make sense. The word onto is not even in here. Okay. But it's implied there in order for you to get a translational value for it so it can make sense. Okay. So it would be the Yokazemo. Yokazemo. Okay. So Akaz. Have you guys ever heard of a king named Akaz? Who's Akaz?
Is it Ahaz?
Yes. They tell him Ahab or Ahaz, but his name is Akaz. And so when you read about him, it's really talking about take the hold. And Yah has told plenty of people, what do you call it? Kaze, okay? Kaze, or Akaz, or he told Joshua, you know, I forgot the actual conjugation of it, but Akaz is a very common name about being strong and taking hold of something, being to be encouraged, okay? And so when you look at these words, you can find names of individuals that are in these verbs, okay? It's an action, okay? So you can find that as well, all right? So they're showing us there's multiple ways of saying him, there's multiple ways of saying them, there's multiple ways of saying her, it's just multiple ways, okay? Let's look at this page number 6, excuse me, rule number 6. When you get this, I just want you to just review it, read it, and just try to, you know, take pieces from it, okay? So this is more about weak letters, which we're going to go way into when we get into our verb book, okay? It says sometimes the yod falls out, and the reason why it falls out is because it's a weak letter, okay? It falls out from the beginning of verbs, and sometimes not. So it just depends. These are just different rules. It says we saw on page 43, which we haven't been in a long time, that a yod is one of the weak letters. And you guys can remember what a weak letter is Yonah, okay? And so, and it says that if it's the first root of the verb, it can drop out when we add a future tense letter onto the front of the verb, especially if it's a weak letter. Okay, so yod is a weak letter. What else is a weak letter? What's another weak letter? Yonah. Huh?
Hey,
The hey, here's a Y, and we got a hey. We just go Yonah. We got the noon, and then we got the hey. These are weak letters. The reason why, so if there's weak letters, there's also strong letters. So verbs, okay, have letters in them that are weak. That means they can't endure something else being added to it. That's why they say when a verb is weak, that letter drops off because you're putting another letter onto it, so it can't sustain the sound. So it just drops off. So our famous word for Yonah, which is a prophet, you know, you can remember him as being weak underneath that tree when the heat was hitting him. So that bush that he was under started going away and he fainted, right? Because of how his weakness. So they use this to let us know that, hey, these are weak letters, okay? So there's strong letters and there's weak letters, all right? So here's an example. It says, when you go out, which is our word yatsa, it should be teitse, okay? But the yod drops out, right? It should be this tav and this yod, because the root of it is what? The root is yatsa. But they added that tav, and that tav is you. The root is, okay, which is not only you, but you will. Excuse me. I got to follow my own rule. Go out. The go out is the tza, the yatsa. The you right here is you will. That's what the tav is. Okay. So what happens is that the yod will drop out because they added the tav. And so it goes from, titse, it won't do that. It'd be teitse. Okay. That's what it'd be, because the yod will drop out. And that's just one of the rules. And so we're going to learn how that not all verbs with a yod as their first letter will lose its yod in the future tense. So there are some exceptions that they're telling us. And of course, in the Hebrew language, there are always going to be some exceptions. Okay. Examples of when the yod doesn't fall out. So here's a verb, okay, called yashan, okay? And it means to sleep. It's one of your vocabulary words. So when you want to say I will sleep, okay, the I will is what part of this word? What letter is it? I will. I will.
Aleph.
Yep, it's the aleph. Thank you. And why is it will? Why is it I
Future.
will? Because it's a future
the
tense. It is put on the front of the verb. That's simple, right? So it's not going to drop out. Okay. So as you can see, they'll add an aleph. It won't drop out. They don't tell us why. They just tell us that that's the rule. It just doesn't fall out. Because some of the roots that have that letter will not drop out depending on what it is. Okay. He will sleep. Okay. So what part of that word is he will?
The
Oh, the
yods.
yod.
It's the yod. It's a yod that's in front. Okay. Here's another one. Yorash. Okay. So the yorash is the root, meaning to inherit. So again, you can see they're putting on a he will, that's a yod, because he will is a yod. We will is a noon. It's not going to drop out. So the verbs, some verbs are weak and some are strong. There are some verbs that have a yod on them that will remain. So it must not be a literal weak verb. It has to be a strong verb with a yod. It has to be. Weak verbs mean it's going to drop off. So they're letting us know that there are some exceptions to verbs when it comes to weak letters. Okay. Yara, okay, is to fear. And number 3, so they're adding letters to the front, meaning it's going to be future tense. He will what? Fear. Yira or nira, we will fear. So you guys can see the puzzle. It's just adding letters to the front for future tense. And that's basically it to a root. And it's letting you know there's some roots that are strong, that are not going to change. And that's those are the words. So they're letting us know in our vocabulary, yare or yara is fear. That's not going to change. Yarash is a strong one. Yashan is a strong one. Okay. But not all of them are like that. Okay. Here's some examples of when it does fall out. So we see yatsa. It falls out. Then we see yared. Yared will fall off. That would fall out as well. Okay. And then you see yashav, to sit. That's going to fall off when you put on these letters. If you add anything to the front of it, it's going to fall off. Why? Because those in particular root letters cannot sustain it for whatever reason. They're not going to sustain it. And that's what it is. Okay. So you're going to see that. So what's the point? The point is that there's strong ones and there's weak ones. Some fall off and some don't. But over study and going over things and seeing it on, repeatedly, you begin to discover that. You'll be able to find those things out. Okay. So what we're going to do now is that's enough on that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here for you on page 139. I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to send 139 and 138 and 137. We went over a lot today, and 135. So you get your vocabulary words. And again, I always say that you should go ahead and sing these things. So find your favorite song and sing this to yourself. Okay. And put a piece of paper on one side and cover up things on both sides. What do I mean by that? What I mean is put a piece of paper over this, not when you first start learning it. Okay. It's after you begin to go bala, then you'll be like, okay, he swallowed. And you say that a few times and sing it. And then when you're singing it, I want you to look at when you're singing bala, you don't have to keep looking at bala. You don't have to keep looking at it. Just say it till you can say it. For example, I say bala. Somebody right now say bala. Say bala.
Bala.
Is that hard?
No.
No. So once you figure out how to say it, focus on that in particular word. And then all of a sudden, don't look at it no more because you already know how to say it. I say, Moshe, do you need to know what I look at it and know what the letters are? No. So go bala. Okay. And even do what I do is make this a person. Make this somebody who every time you go out drinking with them, they're just swallowing everything. You got to have some fun with it. So go bala and then know what it means. He swallowed. And then when you say bala and you sing it, you always just look at this when you're saying bala. And then guess what? Don't focus on nothing down here at all. Don't look at nothing else until you get this down. Don't look at nothing else. Just say bala and keep looking at it and sing it and look at it. Bala, bala, bala. And imagine and close your eyes and see someone and see this person that you make up in your mind drinking something. That's all you got to do. And then you go to the next word. You know, Akaz. And you think about that king, Akaz, and think about he held on to. Make him, he's holding on to something to be strong. To be strong, be strong. Okay. He's holding on to something. He needs strength to do it because that actual root cause has to do with being strong. Because it is Vanik, yeah. What did y'all say? I keep trying to say it if I can remember. Akaz, Vanika, yeah, Akaz. He tells Joshua something. I forgot what he said, but he uses those terms. It's just bothering him. I should just say it. Oh no, that was what what's his name said. Okay, Kazak. Okay, that's what it is. Moshe said Kazak, Vanik, Kazak. And what that means is be strong, and let us be strengthened. That's what that word means. Kazak, Vanik, Kazak. It means be strong, and let us be strengthened. Okay, Vanik, that ni here means we, be strong. Okay, so when you look at these letters and you look at these words, just say the word Akaz. Okay, and if you have a hard time remembering how to say it, take and write out this. That's ah, and then here's a ch, and then that's a z. So that would be Akaz. So write out the word from Hebrew. Write it out. Akaz. Okay. And then after you finish writing it, you say, well, that's what it is. Akaz. And then you cover this up. You don't look at it anymore, and you just focus on this when you say it. And that's how you're going to commit it to memory and sing it. So you can make a song with the first two, Bala Akaz, Bala Akaz, Bala Akaz, or Akaz Bala. Keep saying it and saying it and saying it. Okay. Okay. So that's how you do that. All right. And then once you do that, you're going to be able to cover all this over here with a piece of paper. And then because you're going to know what it is because you've been studying it, and take your time. So all this is covered. All right. With a piece of paper. And then you're just going to say this part, and then you're going to know what it means. Okay. You go down the row and you're going to sing it. And when you're thinking about it, think about Yoreh as fear. You know, Yeshani Slev, you know, you're going to get that rhythm. Then once you finish doing that, You verify, did I say it right? So you don't have to do it all at once. Do 1 or 2 at the same time or 3 and focus on these 3. And then go down to the next 3. And then go down onto the next 3. So that's how you should study. Don't try to do it all. Okay. And then once you finish doing that, you're going to reverse it. Now, instead of you looking at this over here, you're going to cover this up and you're going to say the word here. You're going to say it in Hebrew, akaz. You're going to say bala, akaz, yera, yeshan, ra'ah. You know what I mean? And but this is going to be covered. And you do 1 or 2 at the same time, or 3, depending on, how much you're catching on to it. And you go back and forth and back and forth. And then you get it done and you go to the next one. Now you say, well, how much is this going to stick with me? A very small percentage, especially if you're not reading the Hebrew text. If you read the Hebrew text every day, you're going to find these words all the time. And you'll be like, oh, I know what that is. And before you know it, you'll be reading, be like, I don't even need to transliterate or translate anything. I already can see it. I already know what it is. Okay. So that's important. And the reason too that you want to know your vocabulary is because on these vocabulary words, you're going to have to put your endings on the front and on the end and in the middle. And that's what it is. And then you'll be able to translate and then you'll be able to understand what you're reading. Okay. So that's your class for today. I'll send. Anyone have any questions? And did I confuse anybody too much?